Welcome to Kentucky Football Nation. Well, I titled this video, That Time Bill Curry Pissed Off Steve Spurrier, because I want to get into the history of these two coaches. Because when Bill Curry was at Kentucky for 7 years, he faced Steve Spurrier 6 times. And it didn't go well. And I used to wonder, why is Florida running up the score on us? They would run up the score on us. So I want to get into Steve Spurrier and Bill Curry's relationship as two head football coaches. So first of all, Bill Curry, before he coached for us, for all of you young ones out there, he was in the NFL. He was a very good player, a lineman. I think he was a center, offensive lineman. He played on the 69 Colts team, Don Shula, that got upset by Joe Namath. But then he did win later on. They did win the Super Bowl. So he won a Super Bowl with Baltimore Colts. And he gets injured. And then he goes into coaching. He was Georgia Tech assistant coach, I think, in 76. And then he went to be an offensive line coach at Green Bay in the late 70s. So let's stop right there. Who is Steve Spurrier? One of the best offensive coaches in the history of college football, as far as I'm concerned. He brought passing into the league and opened it up. He was one of the first ones that really was successful at just, if you couldn't cover his spread offense, you were just going to get blown off the field. So who was he? Well, he was a Heisman Trophy quarterback. He went to the NFL. He did not have a good career in the NFL. It did not work out like he wanted. I think late 60s he went in. I know he played for San Francisco, but it ended up he got cut from Tampa Bay, the 76, the very first year when they went 0-12. Probably the best thing that ever happened to him. So Bill Curry goes into coaching in the late 70s after he played, and then Steve Spurrier goes into coaching after he played in the late 70s. So we're going to start off at Georgia Tech. So in 1979, Steve Spurrier, well, let's go back. In 78, he was the quarterback's coach for the University of Florida. So he's a big time, Heisman Trophy winner, big guy, can't play football anymore in 76, hanging out in Gainesville. And I guess they were wanting to transition from they ran the triple option like everybody else, and they wanted to transition away. So they made him quarterback coach. And in 1978, Florida's head coach actually was 6-4, but they ended up firing him in 1978. Well, Steve Spurrier wants to be the head coach of Florida. Dude, they told him no. I mean, you're not even under consideration because you don't have any experience. Well, he would come back later. So what does he do? He goes to Georgia Tech. So this coach at Georgia Tech, Pepper Rogers, knows who Steve Spurrier is and hires him as the quarterback's coach because he wants to transition away from the wishbone offense, which everybody was doing in the 70s, and he wants to go to a passing attack. So he hires Steve Spurrier as an assistant coach. Well, it doesn't start off good. They're 1-5-1. Almost the season's 4 games left in the season of 1978. So Steve Spurrier asked Pepper Rogers, can I call plays for the last couple games? And I guess Pepper Rogers was like, yeah, man, we're 1-5. They actually win 3 out of their last 4 games with Steve Spurrier, the quarterback coach, calling the plays on offense. So he's thinking, wow, this is great. Well, guess what? They fire Pepper Rogers in 1979. Who comes in to be the coach in 1980? Bill Curry. Steve Spurrier has just bought a house. I'm sure he's got young kids by then, married. He just bought a house. He loves it. He loves being at Georgia Tech. Somehow Bill Curry, he went to Bill Curry and said, hey, can I be the quarterback's coach? Now, Bill Curry said, no, there's other people there's going to be a lot of people considered for the position. Now, I don't know how it went down. I don't know if Bill Curry was arrogant about it. I don't know if he was a jerk about it. But whatever he said to Steve Spurrier, that we're not going to let you be quarterback's coach, didn't go over well. And the thing gets me, so Steve Spurrier goes to Duke, becomes the offensive coordinator. They do good. Bill Curry, the next 2 years at Georgia Tech, like 80 and 81, they won 1 game. They were 1-9, 1-9-1, and 1-10. Anyway, that's how the beef started was. He told Steve Spurrier, no, he probably said it, maybe in an arrogant way. I don't think you're good enough. Well, that was really stupid. There's an old saying, be respectful to the people as you climb up the ladder, because when you come back down, you're going to meet the same people. Well, that obviously is the moral of this story, because some way Bill Curry pissed him off. Because now let's fast forward to, Bill Curry gets the job in Alabama. He doesn't beat Auburn, even though he's a decent coach. They fire him. We get him at Kentucky. And then Steve Spurrier works his way back. He's so successful, he takes over head coach at Duke. Florida's like, man, we made a mistake. They take him back. Oh, well, guess what? They're both in the same league. So they start playing one another. 1990. So I'm going to say, he said 6. I think it was 7 games. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, but okay. So Spurrier didn't take over till 91. I'm sorry. So it was 6 games. So the first game in 1991. Now the first games are kind of competitive. We're no good at all. So we had a good coach who retired, and we went out and got a big name coach, Bill Curry from Alabama, when they let him go, thinking, wow. And I'm thinking, wow, we're getting Bill Curry from Alabama. Are you kidding me? That's like getting John Calipari. We're going to win. No. Bill Curry's big weakness. This destroyed his career, by the way, when I'm telling you the story. This last place, he only coached one other place years later. This ruined him. He came to Kentucky. He wanted to run the triple option. And I have no idea why. Because in the 1980s, Bill Walsh comes out with a West Coast offense. Everybody's throwing the ball. But for some reason, we want to get Antonio Farrell and Pookie Jones and Billy Jack Haskins and run the ball in an option. Even back then, I was thinking, I don't think this is going to work. But we kept trying to put the round peg in the square hole, and it didn't work. But let's talk about the Florida games when we played them. In 1991, when we played them in the Swamp, we lost 35-26. Okay, that was kind of a close game. Now Steve Spurrier's getting there. He's getting acquainted. Bill Curry's getting there. He's getting acquainted. Bill Curry wants to run the triple option. He keeps getting Elliot Uzelak from Colorado, all these running coaches who ran the option and all this crap. What's Steve Spurrier doing? Well, he's starting to build a passing spread offense. So guess what happens? We don't ever beat Steve Spurrier. Steve Spurrier, first game, like I said, 1991, 35-26. Second game, 35-19 at Florida. Okay, that was on TV. That was on Jefferson Pilot. 35-19, not that bad. Now, 1993, the only record that Bill Curry had at Kentucky out of 6 or 7 years, we were 6-6 that year. Best team we had. Okay, we went to the Peach Bowl and we lost to Clemson, but we lost 24-20 at home to Florida. We had them beat. It was 20-17. And I remember it was like at the very, they were on their own 30-yard line, 4th down. Well, Shane Matthews throws a bomb or throws a very long pass into the end zone at the end of the game. They score because we don't have the right coverage. Obviously, the guy's open. If you watch I remember watching the play on tape delay going, wow, we didn't cover. They spread out the receivers. Boom, we lose 24-20. That was the best shot we had. Okay, so now we get to 1994. We get to play on the ABC game of the week. This was the game. It was either, I don't know if it was noon. I remember watching it. It was either noon or 3 o'clock. Okay. But it's the game of the week. We're on playing at Florida in the Swamp. Steve Spurrier must know, hey, we're going to be on national TV. Now he's got his team rolling. He has his spread offense and we have our option. Well, guess what? We got beat 73-7 in national TV in front of God and everybody. And I remember thinking, how the hell do we score 7 points? Isaac Curtis Jr., I think, the tight end, got open on a long bomb. We got lucky. Maybe they had their 4th-string cheerleaders in. But we actually scored on them. But we got beat 73-7, okay? So then in 1995, as Steve Spurrier's getting better, we have a home game against them, and we only lose 42-7. Okay, they beat us pretty big, 42-7. You think, wow, okay. Bill Curry's last year, 1996, game of the week, CBS. This was prime time. This was 3 o'clock game. This was the afternoon game. I remember this. We play at the Swamp. It's 1996. We have Tim Couch, one of the best high school passing quarterbacks in the history of Kentucky high school football. We put him in the option to play Florida as a freshman. 65-0, folks. I can't believe it was. I just remember thinking, oh my God, we couldn't get a first down. We couldn't run the ball. We couldn't pass the ball. Embarrassment. I mean, just that's what lost Bill Curry his job right there. After that, they told him, now they played the rest of the year. If you guys remember this in 96, they told Bill Curry about after that game, I think it was that game, and we had like maybe 5 games left. You're done, partner. You got to have, in fact, I think they told him before that, you got to have a winning season. So after 5 games, 6, we knew we weren't going to have a winning season. Our players took the K off of one side of their helmet to, rally to support their coach, which, okay, I get it. But okay, so like I said, last 3 games, 73-7, national TV, 42-7, 65-0, national TV. God and everybody. So the last 3 games, we got outscored 180-14. So whatever he said to Steve Spurrier in 1979 at Georgia Tech, whenever Steve Spurrier asked about that position, whatever he said, it must have been bad because it pissed him off and he made him pay. And he still brags about it to this day. Now, we did get him. You know who got him? Joker. I think Joker Phillips got him. I think we got him when he was at South Carolina. We finally beat Steve Spurrier. I know it surprised him. I didn't count. It wasn't Bill Curry. Don't worry, Steve. You're all right. Steve Spurrier, I think that was the last place he coached was South Carolina. It didn't go well. He was trying to build them up. I think it was after Lou Holtz or before Lou Holtz at South Carolina. I can't remember. But we did get him once. So we got you once, buddy. But it wasn't Bill Curry. Then poor Bill Curry doesn't coach. He coached maybe, took 10 years off, and he coached at Georgia Southern for a couple of years. But it destroyed his career. And like I said, I never understood why we were trying to run the triple option, the option everybody was throwing. So once again, he was a good man. The only reason he lasted as long as he did. And look, he was a great man. I mean, you could tell he had high morals, high character. Everybody loved him, but Jesus, we sucked at football. And so that's the history lesson from the early 1990s, boys and girls. Unwatchable. Before I get off here, I can't believe I'm at 12 minutes. The games were on tape delay. So you had to listen to the game at like 6, 7 o'clock. And then when the news went off at 10:30, you could watch a replay of it if we weren't on Jefferson Pilot. So there's so many games we didn't watch. I'm going to talk about it. There was an Indiana game that was 3-0. We beat them 3-0. We were the 2 worst teams in god-awful football. That was the worst game I ever listened to because I certainly didn't tape it or rewatch it back then, 3-0. But a shame about Bill Curry. But the moral of the story is, hey, man, treat people nice. Don't piss them off. You might make it through life unscathed. Well, probably not because we're all human beings. Listen, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I just went over 100 subscribers. I appreciate it. I'm trying to get to 500. If you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. You can watch all my other videos. I'll be talking about everything Kentucky football related. Some things, look, I don't know everything about all the other teams in the SEC, like all the big SEC podcasts and all the fine bombers that know Oklahoma's 3rd string tight end. I couldn't tell you 2 people on Oklahoma right now, maybe the quarterback. But other than that, I'm going to talk about Kentucky football. And I will talk about other sports, basketball. I'm a basketball fan too. But I appreciate it. We're going to do some more videos. I'll get into probably the air raid because I love How Mummy. How Mummy followed Bill Curry. So maybe we'll book in and add on to that story. How Mummy beat Alabama for the first time in, 75 years. So we'll talk about that game. We're definitely going to bring that game up and what How Mummy did. So I would like to talk about that. And of course, anything that comes up during the portal closes on the 25th. If we get anybody out of the portal, I'll update that. Like I said, my other videos, we're thin at like defensive line and linebacker. Hey, maybe we can find some practice players just to get us through the summer camp. Listen, guys, watch my shorts, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.